Hey, English 9 kids. As you can already tell, I'm not here today. I am sick. You could probably tell from yesterday. So I'm taking a day off here so that I can try to get better and not be gross all week. Um, for today, here's what's going to happen. The very first thing that we're doing, of course, is you're going to watch this video so that you kind of know what's going on. But immediately after the video ends, you're going to be working on that figurative language analysis assignment that you received yesterday in class. It's over the Scarlet Ibis. So I would highly suggest that you get out your copy of the Scarlet Ibis and you get out that figurative language analysis sheet. You also should take your Scarlet Ibis analysis questions over the story and turn those into the homework tray if you didn't already do that. So wait, don't get up, but when the video ends, if you didn't turn in those analysis questions yesterday over the story, you want to go ahead and put those in the homework tray. And then the last thing today, let's say you finish your figurative language assignment, which I'm about to go over right now, you can start working on your short story test study guide. Your short story test is going to be this Friday over all the short stories that we did. I'll talk about that here in a second as well. But if you finish your figurative language assignment, you can work on that study guide as well. They're on the front table. If you didn't pick one up when you walked in, you need to go ahead and do that. Now, before I do anything else, the thing on the bottom of the screen here says the class that receives the best behavioral report from the sub will earn an additional 25 house points for their house when I return to school tomorrow. The sub has a secret house point tracker. It covers all kinds of things. Turning in your phones to class. If at least 10 of you turn in your phones when you're supposed to. Making sure that you are not talking when you're supposed to be working. Never having a phone out when you're not supposed to. Pushing in your chair, making sure that there's not garbage all over the floor around you when you leave. Those kinds of things are going to earn you house points today. Just doing the basic expectations that students tend to struggle with when they have a sub. Doing those kinds of things are going to get you house points today, and the sub has a secret house point tracker where they are keeping track of all those behavioral things that you're doing today. We are coming up to the end of the quarter here this Friday. So if you want to win for the house cup this quarter, it's probably a really good idea for you guys to pay attention today. There's like over 100 house points that are up for grabs today based on your behavior. So make sure you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing there if you want to earn some house points. All right, anyway, the figurative language assignment. Yesterday, when we did our bell work, we talked about metaphor and simile. You guys practiced writing a sentence with a metaphor and a sentence with simile. Those two terms are right here. Right, we talked about this yesterday. A metaphor, of course, is comparing two things, not using like or as. And a simile is comparing two things while using like or as. So that's really the only difference there. The first thing that you're doing on this handout is just defining those two terms for me, which you should definitely be able to do because we talked about it yesterday, and I just talked about it just now. But then you've got a series of 7 questions. And essentially what's happening there is I'm pulling a quote from the story and asking you to tell me first, is that a metaphor or a simile? What's being compared in that metaphor and that simile? And what does it mean? Like, what was the author trying to communicate to you by including that metaphor and simile? So let's do the first one together. I'm basically giving you your answers right now on the first one, so definitely pay attention here as we go through it. First one says, they named him William Armstrong, which was like tying a big tail on a small kite. Now, we talked about this one in class when we read the story. So let's see how you can kind of do in your mind here as I go over it. First thing I'm looking at here is it a metaphor or simile for A? I see the word like tying a big tail on a small kite, so I would definitely write simile here because I'm comparing using like or as. B is asking me to identify what's being compared. So the name William Armstrong is like a big tail being tied on a small kite. So the name William Armstrong is compared to a big tail, and then Doodle himself is being compared to a small kite. Okay, so that's what I got in my comparison here. So now I got to ask myself, what did the author mean there? Well, if I think about this, and I'm imagining the small kite being Doodle, and his big name of a tail is like dragging him down. It's way too big for him, or he is. what I'm thinking here is, well, you must be saying that the name is just too big, too extravagant for who Doodle is. It makes him look silly in comparison. He doesn't deserve that big fancy name. So that would be what I would explain here. I would say the name William Armstrong is much too big and fancy for Doodle. Brother thinks he is undeserving. That he doesn't deserve that name. It's too big for who he is as a person, which is really sad. And of course, we talked about Brother's cruelty for Doodle in the story. All right, so that's what you're doing in each of these. First of all, is it a metaphor? Is it a simile? What two things are being compared? And then what does it mean? Now I'm going to go through here and I'm going to identify some things that you might struggle with, some words that might confuse you. So as I do this, go through your document and also make the same notes so that you're not confused when you do this today. So number 2 says, he might, as long as he lived, lie on the rubber sheet in the center of the bed in the front bedroom, where the white marquisette curtains billowed out. Okay, marquisette is just a type of curtain. So if that word confuses you, just ignore it, pretend like it's not even there. The white curtains, that's all you need to know. The white curtains billowed out in the afternoon sea breeze, rustling like palmetto fronds. Now, every year we do this assignment, and the kids are like, what are palmetto fronds? What does that mean? This is a palmetto frond. If any of you guys are Catholic or Christian and you go to Palm Sunday services, you've seen the palm leaves, okay? And palmetto fronds are just like the leaves, okay? So if they're rustling, if the wind's blowing against them and they're rustling, that's what this is referring to, that sound of the palmetto fronds, those leaves rustling against each other. So that's what's going on in that one. Number 3 says, with wiregrass, we'd weave them into necklaces and crowns. We'd bedeck. Bedecking yourself just means like we put it on. We bedeck ourselves with our handiwork. Handiwork is something that you've made. And drop our jewels into the stream. All right. Number 4, you should know all those terms. Number 5, this one also confuses some students. The rain was coming, roaring through the pines, and then like a bursting Roman candle, a gum tree ahead of us was shattered by a bolt of lightning. A Roman candle is a type of firework. It's the one that people hold in their hands. And you might have seen somebody like holding a Roman candle like that. Well, that guy's got like 18 Roman candles tied to each other. But it's essentially one long stick of a firework, and people will hold it out and like shoot the flames and explosions out of the end. That's what a Roman candle is. So if you see it talking about the Roman candle there, that's what's going on. And the gum tree was shattered by a bolt of lightning. I see light there, so that might be a simile. All right, number 6. Even death did not mar its grace, for it lay on the earth like a broken vase of red flowers. We talked about that one in class 2. So I'm going to skip it. All those words make sense there. Then the sound of rain was everywhere, but the wind had died, and it fell straight down in parallel paths, like ropes hanging from the sky. Parallel is one of your math terms, right? It's next to each other in the same direction. So the rain is going essentially like this, straight down. All right. Go ahead and stop there. So that's your goal for today first. You got to finish your figurative language assignment. You can work with one of your shoulder partners. So somebody to your left, somebody to your right, but you are not going to get up out of your seat and move around the room to do this. Nope, staying right where you're at. So you can work with a shoulder partner, you can work by yourself on this, but we're not getting up and moving them around the room. Not happening. Okay, we don't need that chaos for the course up. All right, the next thing, so let's say you finish your figurative language assignment. Great, amazing, wonderful. Put it away in your binder or your folder. The next thing that you're going to do is work on that short story test study guide. Okay, that short story test study guide, if you have it completely done, is going to be for extra credit on the test on Friday if you turn it in on test day. I'm not collecting it on Thursday because then you can't study it. That would be useless. So your short story test study guide looks like this. You're going to get a separate sheet of paper and you're going to be answering these questions. Things like point of view, setting, characterization, conflict, climax, rising action, falling action theme. All those are terms that we've been talking about the whole quarter. Define them for me. What do they mean? Then we got some literary devices. Foreshadowing, verbal irony, situational irony, dramatic irony. We've talked about those a lot. Mood, tone, symbol. What do those words mean? And then identify which stories use which devices. So for instance, The Most Dangerous Game. Did The Most Dangerous Game have foreshadowing? Yes. Did it have verbal irony? Yes. Did it have situational irony? Yes. Did it have dramatic irony? Not really. Did it have mood? Yes, we talked about the mood in the story. We didn't really talk about tone or symbolism with that story. Scarlet Ibis, yes, it has a lot of those things, right? So go back through each story, and on your paper, you're going to say, okay, Most Dangerous Game, it has this, it has that, it has this, all these different literary terms, and then here's what they are. And then after you've done that for each of the stories, you're going to also identify the point of view, the setting, the characters, the conflicts, the climax, and the theme. If you want to identify key rising and falling action events, you can, but as long as you get through theme on that, you'll be okay. Last thing that you'll do is important quotes. You're telling me who said it and the importance of the quote. So, like for instance, who cares how a jaguar feels in The Most Dangerous Game? That was Rainsford, okay? And when he said who cares how a jaguar feels, we said it could be a couple types of irony. Because if he'd said that at the end of the story, it could be verbal irony, but also situational irony, because he does end up caring. The exact opposite happens, right? He does care. He understands how they feel. He knows what it's like to be hunted by the end. So that would be my person who said it, Rainsford, and the importance of it. Now, you don't have to copy the quote on your paper. You just need to write your answer. But if you want to write the quote, you can. You got quotes from The Most Dangerous Game. You got quotes from The Scarlet Ibis, and you got quotes from Lamb to the Slaughter. Then I gave you some suggestions. I would really highly suggest looking back through each of those short stories, refreshing your memory, looking at all your annotations that we did, all those kinds of things. But really knowing all your literary devices and stuff is going to be very helpful. There is going to be a section where you guys see a cold reading that you have not read before. You're going to have questions about it. So making sure you understand those literary devices is going to be helpful. All right. That's the next thing that you can do. Now, there's very little possibility that you're going to finish all those things in one period. But if you do, let's say you're just amazing, you're on the ball, you're ready to go, you can read your independent reading assignment. Okay? Now, the short story test study guide is an individual assignment. You're working on it by yourself, but you can work with a shoulder partner on the figurative language assignment. All right? I'm at home sick today, so if you would like to get help, you can send me an email. You can comment on Classroom or anything like that. But that's it today. We don't need Chromebooks. The Chromebook card is locked. All that good stuff. All right? Okay. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck today. Behave and get those house points, all right? Bye.